land or in need of a property manager. We offer cash advance.
All right, we are live. Let me get my draft guide.
So call the Real Estate Guy today. We'll help you ride smoothly through your real estate journey.
Everybody should get this little plug to my buddies at our lads. How we doing, everybody? We need to wake this channel up. We need to get people excited. That's why we opened up the bricklayers in YouTube, because not enough people on radio are excited anymore, but they're excited here. So let's get everybody going this week. No bullshit this week. I'm talking high energy draft. If you got a draft pick, you got to let me know now. Wake up. Let's go. It's the draft. Got to nail the draft no matter who your team is. No matter who your team is. WrestleMania, not my thing. Didn't do it, but people said it was unbelievable. Bobby, do you have a problem with John Cena winning for the 17th time in his career the world title?
I don't care.
You don't care?
Not one bit.
Okay.
I know lots of people that went. I'm not one of them.
I think the people who went loved it. I have some takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
It was on from time to time at the house. My son
had a blast. He enjoyed it.
Harry had a lot of people enjoyed it. They don't leave their seats. These wrestling fans do not leave their seats. This is coming from people who work in the building.
Yeah.
They sit there in their seat hours before it's. How long are we going to have Genty? Is he going to make it to his first contract? Let me tell you another big deal. I care about this season. I'm invested in every season. I really care about this season. Are the Raiders going to be able to this year go to 8, 9, 10 wins? Are they going to be able to do that? And the only way they're going to be able to do it is running the football. So if they are able to run the football productively, I'm talking highly productive. They're able to run the ball like for 130 yards a game and work off play action. They're as good as any team they'll line up against, home or on the road, if they can do that. That's what football is. One team has it for 26, 27 minutes. The other team has it for 33, 34 minutes. One team gets 17 first downs. Another team gets 11. And one team turns it over more than the other. Game's over. Doesn't matter if you're playing the Chiefs or the Eagles or the Cowboys or the Saints or the Las Vegas Raiders. Who plays a cleaner football game? Who's able to run it, throw it, catch it, and not give up big plays? That's it. And we all know that the Raiders can't run it. They can't run it. Right. So there's a whole new regime that came in because the Raiders couldn't run the ball. I thought they could. I thought Zamir White was the real deal. He's still on the team. I can tell you this one thing about Zamir White. I guarantee you he's lifted more weights than he's ever lifted in his life. And he's pissed off and he wants his starting job. Why wouldn't he? He had his starting job last year. He didn't play well. Well, why don't we blame the offensive line? They didn't play well. They didn't open up any holes for him. Why we blame in Zamir White? I don't know, but he didn't get the job done. So now we need Ashton Genty? If Zamir White was great, not good, we wouldn't need Ashton Genty. We'd have Zamir White for the next 3 or 4 years. It didn't work. What do you want to do? Sincere McCormick? I like him. He's not Ashton Genty. You need someone who can move the game and be a defiant, bold playmaker. He seems to be the best kid on offense out there. Unless you want to go Shador. Unless you want to go Ted McMillan, the wide receiver. Or are you one of these Raider fans pounding their chest as I'm on YouTube? JT the Brick YT, look at me pound my chest. Are you one of those saying, no matter what, we got to get an offensive lineman? Membu, we got to get an O-lineman. I don't like young O-linemen because I went through Alex Leatherwood. I lived through announcing the Alex Leatherwood pick at the draft party. I can't go there. I can't have a bust on the offensive line. Do you know if these guys are going to be good or bust out? I don't know. Robert Gallery, I love as a human being. He was taken 2 overall. You know, you gotta understand that this 6th pick is so bleeping important. It sells tickets. It gets the fans engaged. It keeps some of the opposing fans out of our building where WrestleMania, which I'll get to, dominated Vegas this weekend. You see the crowd at WrestleMania? Yeah. Did you see those crowds? I was closing my eyes going, that should be a Raider game. in regards to everybody being on the same page. Well, that could start now because John Spytek, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, you get good players, start winning a lot of games. It could feel like WrestleMania inside there in regards to insanity. I'm really excited about the draft. I think the Raiders are going to thread the needle. I truly believe the Raiders are going to come out and do an unbelievable job. Now, a lot of that is hope. Yeah, but I like the setup of how they're going to do it. And I like Telesco. I like Ziegler. I like Reggie McKenzie. I like Mike Mayock. Yeah, they were all good guys. They all had a plan too. But they missed on too many players. Can't miss it all. So if the Raiders want to trade back just a little, I'm good with that. If the Raiders want to trade up, I'm great with that because I'm focused on this year in having an unbelievable season, and I think a lot of it's going to be based on the draft. Because Levi Edwards came on last week, and he went roster position by roster position. It's a really good piece. It's at Raiders.com. And if you look at the starters, not the depth, if you look at the starters, and assuming we're going to get 3 to 4 new starters in the draft, Raiders don't have many holes. They don't. They don't have holes. They don't have one at quarterback. If they get Genty, they don't have one at running back. They got Bowers. They got Jacoby Myers. They got Trey going deep. They got a deep threat. And then on defense, the defensive line is loaded. They brought in Devin White, 2 linebackers. Yeah, that's a hole. They're going to get another linebacker in the draft. We know that. And then the corners, they went out and got some players in the secondary, especially Chin at safety. And I think they're going to get another high corner in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a corner high. Not the first round, maybe, but high. So I think if the Raiders thread the needle, John Spytek talked about needs versus best player available. Well, that's really all these guys are trained to pay attention to at the press conferences. There's always going to be someone in the crowd that says need, or best available. Since the beginning of football, they asked it to George Halas. They asked it to Tom Landry. They've asked it to Gil Brandt, Tex Schramm, all of them, Al Davis. And they all have the same answer. They don't give you an answer. Right. It's need. The Raiders have needs. They have significant needs at depth. They don't have enough linebackers. They don't have enough corners. Fact, not fiction. Their wide receiver room's got to get a 1. Well, if you don't get a 1 in the first round, where are you getting your 1 wide receiver if you don't get him in the first round? You're hoping and praying. You're hoping you get him in the third round. That doesn't mean it. So I think the Raiders are going to get a receiver out of this. So I'm optimistic that there's going to be plenty of players there. But, oh boy. There are some teams, in my opinion, I put out my top 10 picks today on X at JT the Brick. I'll talk about it next hour. My top 10 picks. It all starts at 3 with Shador. It looks to be safe that number 1's Cam Ward to Tennessee. Number 2 is Travis Hunter. What a shame for that kid. Where all careers go to die in Cleveland. He'll play both ways. And then at number 3, it's either going to be Abdul Carter or Shador to the Giants, because the Giants are freaking out if they miss on a quarterback after missing on Daniel Jones. I mean, just fold up the franchise. You're not going to beat Jaden Daniels, and you're not going to beat – you can beat Dak Prescott, but you're not going to beat Jalen Hurts for the next 10 years. So the Giants might have the guy in Shador who could be the next – I mean, he was – you telling me Jalen Hurts coming out of college, and he went to Oklahoma and Alabama and was really good player, but he was a second-round pick. Shador's not going in the second round. But if the Giants pass on him, then it gets interesting. The Giants could be taking a phone call from the Saints at 9, and the Saints can trade up to 3 and get Shador. Now, what concerns me most in the first round, and I wanted to be on record, as I have my R-Lads guide here in front of me as I'm putting it up to the screen. Fantastic. They don't have the Raiders in the first round taking Ashton Genty. And I was a little bit concerned by that because I think the Raiders are in a position that they might have to worry about someone trading in front of them for Ashton Genty. So our lads have the Raiders taking starts the defensive the safety, from Georgia. So they're going Georgia safety. I don't think that's right, and they don't get many things wrong. But, and you can clip this in 3, 2, and 1. The only concern I have for the 2025 draft, the only concern I have is Jacksonville at number 5 trading out of 5 so someone can get Genty? Or another team, the Chicago Bears at 10, who seem to want Genty, trading up over the Raiders to number 5 to Jacksonville to get Ashton Genty. Now, if Genty's gone, I'd put together a program and a thing. My son says, do it on AI, Dad. I go, no, I'll do it myself. I watch games. But I have a scenario of Genty is gone at 6 and you can't get him, and Shador's there. All of a sudden, do you want to take Shador? I wouldn't take Shador because they got Geno and they gave him a lot of guaranteed money for a short period of time. So I don't want Geno to have to look over his shoulder at Shador. If he ends up having to do it, he'll be great at it. But I don't want to see that. If the Raiders get Ted McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona, because Genty's gone and maybe Shador's gone, I go wide receiver 1 there. I'm good with that. And then if the Raiders want to go superstar edge, not edge rusher, defensive lineman, superstar linebacker that hasn't been around this program forever, and Devin White's a hell of a player when he was playing at the top of his game. If the Raiders want to get a guy, not Rolando McClain, okay, just a guy that they know is going to be a Raider for 8 to 9 years. It felt like that with Spillane, didn't it? Felt like we had the guy in Spillane. He wanted the money. As the great philosopher Randy Moss once said, straight cash homie. Trayvon Merrick and his agent and Robert Spillane and his agent, I know this on authority, were pouncing on as much money as they could get. That doesn't mean they weren't good Raiders. They're good Raiders. Trayvon Merrick played up to a contract. He got a massive contract, Raiders. No good. I'm good with that. Let him go. Robert Spillane, I thought he'd stick around for a couple days. Maybe we keep him. Maybe, the price comes down. We keep Spillane. Gone. Money. Well, we got a lot of money. We, the Raider Nation, got a lot of money to spend here. Maybe we're going to spend it all next year. I don't know. Arch Manning's coming out next year. Like him a lot better than these quarterbacks. I can promise you that. But this is this year's draft that takes place on Thursday. We got a big week lined up for you. Huge week. Today, I got 3 NFL insiders. Mark Anderson, who's great. Obviously, we're going to jump in and have a really good one coming up with Rhett Lewis here at the bottom of the hour. Luke Easterling. Wow, we got Luke Easterling coming in also. He's really good from Athlon. So we're doing our job here. Bobby and I know every day get a draft insider or 2, and we're going to do that. And then we want to hear from you. The comments on WrestleMania, a lot of people want me to comment on that. I'm not a wrestling guy, no interest. None. As in none. But I learned early in my career, don't say anything negative about wrestling. You want to get people mad at you? Yeah. You want to get people nuts? Like I mentioned, bobbleheads are 50 cents and grown-ass men stand in line for 6 hours, and I got to have a helicopter come over my house, right? So wrestling, you guys do what you do. I love anything where kids have fun. Kids have fun. I'm good. Man, these fans took over our city. Holy crap, did they take over Vegas? And they were everywhere. They kind of sold out the convention center, T-Mobile on Friday night. One of my good buddies, Johnny Juice Russo, he was my intern. I've had some famous interns in my career. He's like really high up in the company. He came out to my house and explained it to me in front of my wife, and I were like, wow. We had no idea. So if you went to WrestleMania and you'd like to talk about it, I'd like to take your call. And I want to tie it into the Raiders. Because this will enrage people in Oakland, which I never want to do. We love our Oakland audience. This is why the Raiders came to Vegas. Yeah. The amount of money the Raiders made on WrestleMania, I don't know the number, but the amount of money that they make on Beyonce and they make on all these concerts, Morgan Wallen, and the ability to go pay Chip Kelly what he gets and to pay these people, it's insane. So WrestleMania, from all accounts, was a tremendous success. Thank God I'm not an expert on why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson didn't come out for the finale and Travis Scott did. That didn't go over well on X. A lot of wrestling fans upset about that. Where's The Rock, Bobby? He's going to come down from the roof? Is he going to come in? They got to have him on a bungee line? Where's The Rock? Oh, Travis Scott? You can go see Travis Scott at Coachella. What's he doing at WrestleMania? John Cena. So you wrestling guys and gals, mostly guys, you wrestling guys I hope you had a lot of fun because I'll tell you, it was a tremendous success. And then the Golden Knights won. So happy Easter. I hope everybody had a great Easter Sunday. We went to a friend's house and they put on a spread like you wouldn't believe. So we had a beautiful day. My boys were both home. We had a nice Easter. Went outside, got in the pool. It's pool season, got in. And hope you had a great Easter holiday and your week's going great. We have AC/DC on Saturday night at Allegiant Stadium. We have Fred Bolitnikov's golf tournament Sunday, Monday. We have the draft Thursday, Friday. So we got a really busy week here. No doubt about it. My voice is on high alert. Wife knows it. I got to keep the voice going. That means when I'm not on radio, shut up. But it's hard. I started the show 17 minutes ago. I don't have a Raider fan on hold. It's a draft. Now you might say, why would he say that? Just go to commercial. I mean, you got like 18 sponsors because I get infuriated when Raider fans don't meet my energy. I get infuriated because I take this seriously. I only do 2 hours a day here. Why do 3 or 4? Are you kidding me? 2 hours is fine. So I'm here to get the Raider fans woken up. Get them going this week like I'm going. And the way they are in the building, coming off WrestleMania. You got the pick, you give it to me now, because I don't want to hear from you after the pick if you didn't call your shot. Okay, I'm done with the complainers who complain about everything. I don't like the coach. We should tank. I want to lose games. Oh, really? So what if you got the third pick? Who would you take? Probably the same guys, Shador or Genty. Who does the Raider Nation want to be announced at the draft party at the Palms as the newest member of the Silver and Black? I'm going Ashton Genty. My heart will not be crushed if he's not the guy, but I hope he is because I think he fills a need and he's the best player available. Many will push back and say, no, running backs in this market aren't the best available. They would be wrong because we came off a season of Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley winning the Super Bowl, and Josh Jacobs, who we couldn't come up with $1 million more a year. Not $30 million a year. Purdy wants 45. We could have came up with $1 million more for Josh Jacobs, I think, and he would have been here. But would Josh have been any good behind this offensive line? Don't know. I don't know. Josh was a really good player, and the year before he left, he didn't play well. But then Zamir White was, I thought, a good player, and he didn't play well either because you cannot run unless you have an offensive line that can blow open holes. And that's what the Raiders are trying to do. They're trying to get bigger holes and open it up. 702-365-9200 is the number. Big week here. That's why you have a flagship radio station. You have a big radio station that's on the Raiders team app. It's all over the place. So you can listen anywhere in the country and be a Raider fan or an NFL fan. I'll get to all the NBA. There's a lot of NBA news. The Warriors won. What a matchup the Warriors got with Houston. Oh, you Warrior fans should have kissed the ground on Easter that you're playing Houston. Man, do they stink. How'd they become the 2 seed? They didn't have a guy who could hit a shot. And the Warriors have Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. Oh, you Warrior fans got a big Easter blessing playing Houston. How about the Lakers? Lakers get blown out at home in L.A. Oh, yeah. Laker fans and the Dodger fans don't think they can lose games. Every time I look up, the Dodgers are in a fight and the Lakers just lost. So we'll dive into that. Juan, I'm Juan also, is in Corona, California. How are you, Juan?
Great, JT. I'm ready to give you my pick, and just a couple things. I think it should be Ashton Genty, like you said, but I do feel like secondaries where we need the most help. I was high on Zamir White last year, like you were, and I thought he would do a lot more than he did. But the biggest hole I think is definitely in our secondary, and that's why a little bit of me says it might be Will Johnson. And then, listening to some of your podcasts from previous days, from what Vinny said about, the right tackle from Missouri, Membu. I do think he's a project, and I've looked up a lot of other scouts and what they say. I think, I agree with you. I think Pete Carroll's here to win now, not win in 3 or 4 years, because that's not what we brought him here for. But I do think the logical choice is Genty because it's a blue chip player. But I think Will Johnson might end up closing off a big hole on our roster. And like you said, there isn't many holes on the roster, but Will Johnson will definitely fill
Yeah.
fill a need for us. So,
Yeah.
well, what do you?
Yeah, I appreciate you. Will Johnson did not have a great year. The year before, he had an unbelievable year. A lot could be said that teams weren't going to throw at him. He wasn't aggressive and jumping routes and all that. He's a very good player. When you look at cornerbacks overall, he's either the first or second player off of all boards here. And Travis Hunter, let's not forget, is one. Travis Hunter's the best corner in the draft. He's going to Cleveland, number 2. Yeah, if the Raiders play Will Johnson out of Michigan, and remember, where did John Spytek go? Michigan. He just better be ready to play and start. We can't hear Will Johnson's competing against Ja'Cory and Bennett. We can't. If you're going to take Will Johnson, he's got to start. Rookies start when they're taken with the 6th pick overall. They don't get mentored and wait. A couple of quarterbacks do. The Raiders need a plug-and-play star at number 6. I see a handful. Offensive line isn't sexy. We have a brand new regime here in organization that I think is going to do a great job. The old regimes took offensive linemen too, and it didn't work. And you would complain at me for Leatherwood and everybody else. Leatherwood won the Outland Trophy and a national championship for Alabama. About as good as you can get. The Raiders took Leatherwood because he dropped to him, and he's a really good player. He wasn't a bust because he was a bust. He was a great player at Alabama. He came into the league, and he could not handle the speed and size of the league. And I hope that doesn't happen with Will Johnson. But young receivers, veteran receivers see rookie corners, and they eat them out and spit them up. Spit them out after they eat them up, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, something like that. I'm excited because I don't think there's nothing in this. Let me double check before I say this. Let me pause because this is not good. I'm going to say it. We cannot have a pick that everybody in the crowd at a Raider draft party doesn't know. I've been through it in Vegas too many times.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that anymore. I'd love to do it. I hope I get to do it. But I cannot stand up there and someone gives the card and it's a player that we don't know of, and he was mocked to go, late in the first round. Let's get the best player that can start and have the biggest impact. For me, that's Ashton Genty or Tet McMillan. Shador is a luxury item at this point. A lot of things we got to think about here. This first round is going to be nuts. The first 10 picks are going to be nuts. And I've been telling you for months, I'd like to see the Raiders trade back into the first round. I want to see them go back in. Take a player at 6 or maybe move from 6 to 9, get a good player, and then have another pick in the second round that you could package 2 second rounds where you can go back into the first. Something like that would be a lot of fun. But I'm pretty good at taking direction. Whoever they're going to pick, I'm going to interview at some point, wish them well, and hope the team does great. That's what I do. I'm not here to get in front of it and be negative and say the player's not going to make it, because they're getting drafted for a reason. They're going to be part of our family and Raider Nation, and we want to welcome these players. The monologue brought to you by PTs. PTs is excited as the Golden Knights only need to win 15 more games to win the Stanley Cup. They're 1-0 right out. You can watch all the games at PTs. They do a lot of events with the Golden Knights. 5 to 7, midnight to 2. That is the best happy hour in town. Up to the Raiders. We got a big show up. Rhett Lewis will join us coming up next. Wow. I think he's going to have great emotion. Talking about nationally, but we'll definitely Raiders.com, YouTube. I also a week ago, last Monday, we did my 30th anniversary show, and that's up on YouTube. Yeah, we Wi-Fi blew us out, and then I just clicked on retry, and it came up again. So we're good.
Want to see how elite players act as elite players. And those are certain things that you can't find on individual private workouts. Pete Carroll loves that.
The Morning Tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
This is Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m., the home of Raider Nation.
Hey, it's JT. Grimaldi's is hands down my favorite. Grimaldi's. Only at Grimaldi's can you get their famous New York style cold fire pickup and pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas Valley. How we doing? Everybody have a good Easter? What was on the menu? I had some lasagna. I had a pepper pie I've never tried. My buddy's wife made a pepper pie. It was a pie that had peppers in it. It was fabulous. Bobby, I believe that Christmas and Easter should be Italian. Italian is the best food we have in this country by far. Italian food is our best food. Thanksgiving on my birthday gets hijacked from ham and turkey and dryer turkey and stuffing. I believe, 4th of July is burgers and great food, barbecue food. But if we go Christmas and Easter Italian, ravioli, chicken parm, lasagna. You can't go wrong, man. People like to experiment on holidays, man. That's what happened with cranberry sauce. Someone wanted to explain with that.
The traditions, man.
Yeah.
Experiment on the weekday.
Carroll wants to run the ball. He's not passing up on a big back. That's what Big D says.
I'll buy that. And what's he know?
Barbecue.
Run game. So,
Thor was doing barbecue and hella beer. That's good. Carne asada and Modelo's. I had the Modelo 90, the 90-calorie Modelo lighter beer. It tasted really good. All right, you got Rhett's number? We'll call him in a minute. Yeah.
It's going to be a Spy Tech talking about need versus best player.
Yep.
Desert Springs Pools and Spas. Spring is here, which means pool season is right around the corner. Can someone still get their pool built for summer? Absolutely. We've been installing custom pools, spas, and landscaping in Las Vegas for over 30 years. We have the experience and the manpower to go from excavation to plaster in just 10 weeks, which means you can be swimming in your new pool just in time for summer. That's right, owner of Desert Springs Pools and Spas. Go to desertsprings.com to find out just how easy and affordable it is to have your very own backyard oasis.
Hey, I'm looking for Rhett Lewis, please.
I'm Josh Galindo, owner.
Hey, Rhett, how you doing? My name's Bobby. I'm calling for JT the Brick. I'll get stuff to JT in 2 minutes, okay? Get right up.
When you work with us, you get more than a realtor. You get an entire team
Thank
dedicated
you,
to the
please.
experience
Okay, thank you.
you'll love. From start to finish, whether you're owning or selling your home, smooth,
Back to about
fun,
30.
and completely stress-free.
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Joey from Sky Diamonds in Town Square. How you doing? Hey, I truly believe everyone deserves the American dream of success.
Lasagna with hot Italian sausage is the best, says Michael.
Success is the Rolex. It's a symbol of hard work and sacrifice. Everyone deserves that symbol. Right now, through the end of the month.
Blind Mike from Philly. Good to hear from you. Thank you, my friend.
That's around $300 a month for a Rolex. Please, no dealers. This sale is for the hardworking people. Don't walk, run.
All right, I will. You want me to ask about a trade up? What's up, Raider Nation? Stand up.
Back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
I want to hear your answer. Okay, he's tapping me in on this one. This is the age-old question, right? Are we doing need or are we doing best player available? And my answer would be that it's a combination of both. Yes. We're going to make the best decision for the Raiders. And certainly we have to take into mind places that we feel like we're not as deep at certain positions. And also we have opportunities to add really good players too, whether we think we need that player or not. My experience kind of is two things. If you start forcing players because you need them, you end up regretting that. And you also can't have enough good players at certain positions too. So sometimes what isn't feel like a need right now becomes a need after 1 or 2 injuries during the season. And then you're thankful you took this really good player. So, at the end of the day, we're going to kind of combine all of that along with character and injury data. And we're going to have a cool stack set up and we're going to pick the best player available for the Raiders whenever we're up to pick.
Yes, and every GM is asked that question, and normally they have the same answer. Not tipping your hands this close to the draft. JT, back with you as we continue on. Rhett Lewis is one of the best NFL insiders out there. You see all his work at NFL Network. He's done a lot for the Raiders in the build-up to their draft, and I wanted to get him on because I really trust his analysis and opinion. And Rhett, coming off Easter, I hope you and your family are well and you're excited for one of your biggest weeks of the year.
Oh, Brick, man, this is phenomenal, man. I love the draft. I live for the draft. I have ever since growing up a tortured Saints fan. When my dad was working for the franchise down there, man, I'd sneak out of biology class in the 6th grade, head to the library, start filling out mock drafts, and I'm still doing it today, man.
Well, that's a great segue for me to start with the Saints at 9. If they want Shador, do they go get him at 3 with the Giants, the Raiders at 6, Jacksonville at 5? Because where's there's smoke, there's fire. What's your latest reporting or analysis on where Shador can go?
Yeah, I think he's one of those players that has one of the biggest ranges of any player at any position in terms of the ceiling and the floor. And right now it feels like the ceiling is number 2. To the Cleveland Browns, even though it doesn't feel like that's where it's going, or 3 to the Giants for that matter. But I think the floor, could be 30. And that's not because I think, that it's one of those really good teams that are taking them, but it's just because maybe somebody pops back in to the tail end of the first round if he's still sitting there and they don't want to pass up on a value like that. So I mocked him going 9 to the Saints a week or 2 ago. I still think that is a very real possibility, but certainly could see him getting past that point and maybe being available when the Pittsburgh Steelers come on the clock at 21.
So if Travis Hunter is the best overall player because he's insisting of playing both ways, I understand why Tennessee will go with Cam. Let's assume that. How many people are going to be calling Cleveland to move up to number 2 to get him? Or you just think it's going to be like with Jaden Daniels last year? Like everybody was calling for Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders were like, you don't get it. We're not moving the pick. Is that the same thing you're hearing for Cleveland at 2?
Yeah, I do think it's kind of similar. I actually, I kind of not predicted, but I thought one of the potential scenarios to discuss would actually be for the Raiders to move up from 6 to 2 because he solves 2 big needs. Mm-hmm. He is the best receiver in this class, and he's the best cornerback in this class. And he's a first-round pick at both positions in any draft. So, yeah, if you got to give up a future 1 to go get him, fine, because you're getting a 2-for-1 here. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Browns are going to move off that pick unless they get some mammoth of an offer. But I do think that the Browns are going to load up Travis Hunter here, and I think they're going to use him primarily as a wide receiver and then figure out how to get him in the game in some crucial situations in the secondary. So I think his talent warrants it. I think his ball skills are as elite as we have seen from any receiver or corner in the last 10 drafts.
Rhett Lewis is our guest. What a job he does for NFL Network. Also Sirius XM. He covers it all. So should the Raiders be concerned at 6 that Jacksonville at 5 will take calls from the Bears or other teams or even the Cowboys to go up and get Ashton Genty?
I think the Raiders, if they are targeting Ashton Genty, should just be concerned that the Jacksonville Jaguars would actually take Ashton Genty. Travis Etienne is approaching the final year of his rookie deal, has not been extended. And, they've got Tank Bigsby and basically nobody else behind that. This is a brand new regime there. Would not be shocked to see the Jacksonville Jaguars fill out Ashton Genty's card and have the commissioner read his name off at number 5 overall. If that's the case for the Raiders, there are going to be plenty of options beyond the first round for a running back. I think the 2 Ohio State running backs that their offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, knows very well could be in play when the Raiders come back on the board in the second round. And I think that's probably one of the sweet spots for running backs in this draft, that second and third round. I think there's going to be a ton of them that hear their name called once we get to day 2.
I agree with you 100%. Rhett Lewis is our guest. What do your eyes and your analysis tell you about Will Johnson over the last 2 years and how high he can go in this draft? What do you have him mocked to?
Yeah, look, I actually think he could go as high as 6 to the Raiders. John Spytek is a Michigan man. Not to say that that's going to influence him, but I imagine he's going to know everything there is to know about Will Johnson. He's a big, long corner, and Pete Carroll has won with big, long corners in the past, has he not? Up in Seattle. So I could see that being a type of player they would want, but maybe the value is not there considering, what we've seen or what we really haven't seen, JT, from Will Johnson throughout this process, which is basically we haven't seen anything. There's some questions about the long speed, but I'll tell you this. I talked to Michigan defensive coordinator Wink Martindale over the weekend and asked him about Will Johnson. He said he's got the best ball skills I've seen from a corner since I coached Champ Bailey in Denver. So like there's a lot to like with Will Johnson. You got to answer some of the questions and you got to rely on your scouting staff for that. And then you got to make a projection. I think ultimately he falls somewhere, I would say between, let's call it 11 and it's a big range, but 11 and 26.
Wow. Yeah, I would agree. It's how early can he go? And if he starts dropping, teams are going to line up. Rhett Lewis, as we wrap it up, Membu or Will Campbell with the offensive line? Does one jump out at you more than another? Man, it's tough to take a tackle or an offensive lineman early if they don't play well, because that you want to go. I like getting veteran guys via free agents or veterans who are cut that still have their prime left here. It's always risky to do it, but some of the quarterbacks like Drake May and no doubt about it, Caleb Williams need as much help as they can get.
No question, and I think Mike Vrabel's gonna have a hard time looking Drake May in the eye and saying, you know what, we want to help you, but we decided to go defense at 4. I do think they're going to take a tackle. Certainly feels like Will Campbell is the move there. If it's not, would not be surprised to see Armand Membu there as well. I kind of compare it like this. Like I'd say Will Campbell is your stand-up double. He's going to give you 10 years in the league, whether that's a tackle or inside eventually a guard, depending on, how to get your best 5 offensive linemen out there. Whereas Membu, you could be sliding into third, potentially, hitting a home run. He's got that type of ceiling. It's maybe still a little bit untapped. He's got the better frame, the longer arms, and people do and evaluators do take that into account. And that's something that's hurt Will Campbell through this process. But the bottom line is Will Campbell gets guys blocked, and that's important at the next level. So I think those two guys, and let's throw Kelvin Banks' name in there. Do not be surprised to see the Texas tackle in the top 10 as well. I think all 3 of those guys could go in the first 10 picks.
Rhett, last one. You've been doing this a while. It's hard to pick trades if you're doing a mock draft. If you get a trade wrong early, it kind of blows up everything you want to do, right? And so I understand. I don't usually call out trades, but I sense, am I sensing right that this could be a good trade draft because there is a drop off, not at running back, but other positions, top receiver, top corner, elite player here or there, not many superstar quarterbacks. Do you sense there'll be some chaos in round 1 at Green Bay, or everybody's just going to get in line?
It's a really good question. Brick, I look at this a couple of different ways. Let's also assess here that as we sit on April 21st, every team, all 32, has their original slotted first-round draft pick for the first time in the common draft era. Every draft, at this point, we've seen somebody with either a second first-round pick, a multiple first-round picks, or they didn't have a first-round pick at all. So it's crazy that all 32 have their first-round pick as we stand right now. I don't necessarily expect that to be the case once we get to Thursday night, but I think the lack of really top-end blue-chip talent has kind of kept the trades to a minimum thus far. So I really think that the trade spot that's going to be interesting is those last 2 to 5 picks of the first round and those first 5 picks of the second round. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of movement as the dust starts to settle on these prospects that are very, there's a bunch of clusters, right? Once you get beyond the top 5 players in this draft, there's not a whole lot of drop off once you get to those next tiers. So once the dust settles by, let's call it pick 25, pick 27, I think that's where we could start to see some movement where teams start to see opportunity for guys they've had higher on their board that are still sitting there.
Rhett, thanks for doing this. I really respect what you do. I check out everything you're doing on all the platforms. So thanks for making time for me, and have a great draft week.
Anytime, JT. Best to you as well. Thanks, man.
You got it. Rhett Lewis, really good. He's a NFL Network guy that can host. He can do multiple things. He can host, and then he can do what he just did. Come on and give you full analysis. He's very good. A lot of his work is at Raiders.com on the Raiders. So you just heard about what could happen with Shedeur Genty with the Raiders. He had a really good point. First guy I've interviewed. We've had 22 mock draft guys, 22. He's 22. First guy that said Raiders should trade from 6 to 2, that he thought it made sense to get Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter is not going to be traded from Cleveland. It's the same thing we dealt with Jaden Daniels. Every Raider fan wanted to trade up to get Jaden Daniels, and it wasn't available. The phone would not be picked up on the other end. They weren't going to do it. So that's where we're at. That was a really good breakdown. If you got comments on that, 702-365-9200. Mark Anderson joins us next hour. Luke Easterling. I'm open phone till the top of the hour. If you want to get through, you can watch the show at YouTube on our JT the Brick channel YT. It's right there for you. We're brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. And as I was at an Easter brunch yesterday, they were they were offering the Modelo Aura and the 90-calorie Modelo. Like, ooh. I said, that sounds good. I'll try that. But, I like my Modelos to be full body, the Jim Plunkett Modelos. So I had a couple of Modelos on Easter, but I'm going to be quiet this week, Bobby. I gotta pace myself this week. Yeah. I shouldn't at my age, but everyone, my friends say, well, you got to pace yourself this week. I got live music Thursday night after the Raider draft party. I got AC/DC live music Saturday. Right. And then right when we come out of this whirlwind, you get Freddie Bolitnikoff in town Sunday, Monday with that celebrity list, which is a big one.
You're going to be off, right?
So, yeah, I'm going to take off Monday. We got to figure out who's going to fill in here because there's a lot happening. So we'll get to that. But I don't take off unless I'm doing something important. I'm taking off for Freddie. Yeah. And Freddie, I get to MC that. We raise a lot of money for the Bolitnikoff Foundation. All right, that was brought to you by Modelo. If you'd like to get in with your draft pick, you're on the clock because we're not taking calls on Thursday and Friday from the draft when we're in the building. It's not a caller event. It's guests. So you got a couple of days to get to me. You're on the clock. Who is the first pick for the Las Vegas Raiders in the 2025 NFL Draft? Brought to you by the fighting spirit of Modelo. I got to get some water. I don't know why I don't bring water, which is pretty stupid.
The morning tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Hey, Chuck, how much can I get at Dollar Loan Center? You can get a signature loan up to $5,000. And here's the cool part. You can come in anytime and see how much you qualify for. It's 100% free to find out. You don't even need to take the loan out if you don't need the money right now. But at least you know for future needs. $5,000? That's a lot of money. It is. But if you only need a few hundred for a quick bill payment or car repair, you can just take that amount out. You don't need to take out your full credit limit if you don't want to. Thanks, Chuck. Dollar Loan Center has over 60 locations. Or you can go to don'tbebroke.com and get fully funded from the comfort of your smartphone. New customers enjoy 1 week free interest, and you can get up to $5,000 in minutes.
When you're injured, knowing that someone has your back changes everything. Our family has spent over 3 decades fighting and pursuing justice for the injured. It's a long family heritage that we proudly carry on. From our father to our family to the expert legal team at Castellotti, we founded this firm for you. We're the Castellotti Brothers, and we have your back.
Brotherswin.com.
The place for all your Raiders coverage is right here on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Hey, it's JT here to tell you about the best pizza in Las Vegas. Grimaldi's. And then Grimaldi's can give you a famous New York style full-fire pick-up of pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas Valley. Or check it out online at Grimaldi'sPizzeria.com.
Running a business gets more complicated every year, so you need a trusted advisor in your corner, especially when it comes to workers' comp program. Pro Group Management has been helping Nevada's self-insured businesses for over 20 years. Whether your business is retail, trucking, building,
Okay. Point noted. Good point. He wants Abdul Carter. I like that. Oh, yes. The bricklayer. 75 people in here. That's cool. You get 300 or 400 on big days. This is nice because it is the off season.
Find out how to have a pro-group management work for you. Visit our website at pgmmb.com to receive a free cost savings analysis now. That's pgmmb.com or call our Las Vegas office.
Okay, it's me, Carlos Sorrow. The cut you got me this morning.
Okay.
Talk about Genty.
Okay.
We got about 6 minutes.
Air conditioning and plumbing has proven that we can solve problems quickly, completely, and affordably, which is
Okay.
great. But we also like to prevent problems before they happen, which saves you money, so you can live your life comfortably and without worry. And the way we do it is with the savings and maintenance partnership, or SAM plan for short.
I had a great Easter. Thank you for asking. Easter, Bobby, how'd you do for Easter?
I did okay.
You worked? You had the game. You had the hockey game.
All night last night.
Did you end up going to the dead thing?
A little bit.
15% off repairs and a lot more, including peace of mind all year long. Check out the long list of benefits.
Went there for a couple hours, ended up going back to the house, went out to dinner with the roommate.
Okay. Cool. Do you guys check Instagram or Twitter more? I check. My son's trying to get me to do more Instagram, and I just do more Twitter.
Get off more YouTube.
Yeah.
Like that. All right, Carlos Sorrow, here we go.
Okay.
Full-flavored Pilsner style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirits since 1925.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by the Black Hole. Become a member of football's most notorious fans.
We'll start with this. He took 3 pre-draft visits. Ashton Genty visited the Raiders, who have the number 6 pick. He visited the Bears, who have the number 10 pick. He visited the Cowboys, who have the number 12 pick. To answer your question, yes, there is more noise about Ashton Genty going to the Raiders than probably a lot of other picks, a lot of other matches in the top 10. My question is not, does Ashton Genty end up going somewhere in the top 10? I believe he will. My question is, does somebody for a running back decide in order to get him, we got to trade up above the Raiders to ensure that we get him? At number 5, Jacksonville is in a really interesting spot. They've got a first-year GM and head coach. They potentially, in the right scenario, could be open for business. What you have to ask yourself is, if you're Ben Johnson in Chicago, or you're Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas, you're thinking this guy can add a dimension that we can't get anyplace else. Is it worth it? Because it would be expensive to go up and get ahead of the Raiders. That is something that we'll be watching very closely as Thursday night approaches.
That's Tom Pelissero from NFL Network. Open lines, we shouldn't have any. It's draft week. I don't have 3 co-hosts and a clapper. Just me. Pounding through the draft. Got guests coming up next hour. 702-365-9200. Would I love a great offensive lineman? Absolutely. And I would love a great offensive lineman if the Raiders were picking 22, 27, 19. But the Raiders are picking 6th. So if you told me Membu would go to them or Will Campbell out of LSU, who's a really good player, that would be the philosophy. If the Raiders go offensive line, that means they're not going to take Genty first. They're probably going to take an offensive lineman if that happens. And then they're going to immediately get a great offensive lineman in the 2nd round. Who's not going to be Genty, but close on paper. And then they get an offensive lineman in Genty. Well, how about getting Genty first and an offensive lineman second? Well, the offensive lineman you're going to get in the 2nd round pick is not going to be Kelvin Banks out of Texas, Armand Nenbu out of Missouri, and it won't be Will Campbell out of LSU. You can't get everybody in the 1st round unless you trade back in. And we would see. A lot of times new GMs, John Spidek's never anchored a draft where he was in charge. This is his first one. He's the GM. That's why everybody's pulling so hard for him. We want him to get off to a great start. I remember when I met Dave Ziegler, really good guy. And they were drafting Devontae. They were trading the 1st and 2nd round pick for Devontae. They wanted to pair Derek Carr and Devontae. Derek Carr's gone, Devontae's gone. The concept made sense. Get Derek, his college buddy. Devontae's in his prime. You get a number 1. Made sense to some people, but giving up the 1st and 2nd hurt. And then the Raiders in that draft with the 3rd round pick, which was the 1st draft, took Dylan Parham, who's probably a decent third-round pick. You know, he wasn't a first-round pick. That's why they were able to get him there. So with everything that's happening for the Raiders, you want everybody to get the best player. You want to get 2 of the best players. You want to get 3 of the best players there. I think the Raiders can do that. They just tweeted out, and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, excuse the pun. But the Raiders put out their picks that they have in these, first few days. They're high picks. 6, 37, 68, 108. That's good. 6 pick overall, 37th pick, 68, 108. Got to get 4 good players in those 4. You're going to have the 4th round pick's going to be pick 108. There's going to be good players there still. Past 100 that you can come in and start. But if the Raiders stick to the draft board and go 6, 37, and 68, they got to get 3 starters out of that. 3 starters, period. And then hopefully better players later in the draft. Lance is in Huntington Beach, California. What a great place to be. Go ahead.
It's a beautiful day out here. I wanted to, my suggestion of pick number 6 I want to throw out there is against the grain. I like Jalen Walker out of Georgia.
So do I.
I mean, any major game, number 11 is he's everywhere and anywhere, and the most violent player on the field on every play. I don't care where you start him. If you start him at will linebacker, edge, you're gonna get 300 snaps as an off-ball linebacker, and you're gonna get 300 snaps as a nickel edge rusher. And next year, Malcolm Kuntz, maybe he's $25 million a year. You're not gonna be able to keep him. But Jalen Walker, this kid can bend. He might be look undersized on paper, but when I watch him on the game tape, he's throwing Kelvin Banks on the ground with one arm. This guy, some guys are just twitched up and do things that other players just can't do. This guy, people are missing the boat on him, and he's widely thought of as the highest character player in the draft. I think this is the diamond in the rough player.
Good. I'm happy you brought that up. I like the pick. I have no problem. Appreciate the call. If the Raiders took Jalen Walker with the 6th pick overall and had a plug-and-play defensive stud, great player, not good player that starts for the Raiders at linebacker, I'm good with that. Really good with that. Because I've been yearning for that. Dying for that around here. And again, Spillane was a different player. Spillane was really unique, good player. I got nothing negative to say about Spillane. But I don't want a poor man's Divine Diablo. No. I'm done with that. I don't want a guy who you bring in here who's got some big ball skills, looks the part, and then he's out of the team and out of the league in 5 years. If you get me the best edge rusher linebacker from Georgia, a national championship contender every year, I'm good with that. It's hard to do. But the defense, I think the defense is okay. Defense got some holes. But the offense, we have a glaring hole, our rushing attack. Dead last in the league. Yep. I'm not a big Captain Obvious guy, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I go around and say, Genty could be 3 things for the Raiders. Best available player, player with the highest ceiling, and player who gets the Raiders quickly back to where they need to be in the AFC West. How cool would it be to pull into SoFi with Ashton Genty going up against Jim Harbaugh, staff and team? And those guys got to prepare for him, knowing that Geno is going to throw for over 4,000 yards and 70%, we hope. I mean, with all that happening, need some guys that are going to have the opportunity to explode, just be great. And we tried with Henry Ruggs. I don't go down that road much. That's gone. We always respect Tina Tintor. I mention it every time. Okay, that. We went number 4, Cleveland Farrell. Number 7, Tyree Wilson. These were not top 5, 6, 7 picks. This is a 6th pick overall. I think Genty fits in that category. Then he's going to have to prove it, and he'll have time to do that. But I want to see him run week 1 if the Raiders are able to get him. Hour number 1 behind us. Hope everybody had a great Easter holiday. We head to hour number 2 next. Brought to you by the 872 Laborers.
End your weekend with some baseball from Wrigley Field as the Phillies will be taking on the Cubs Sunday at 4 on ESPN Radio 1100 AM and 100.9 FM.
Spend some time in the chat here. He's a 105 we're doing.
Yeah. And the Mark Hansen at 120.
Okay. All right, Big D. Teams won't be game planning on second and third round backs. I don't know about that. Big D. I think if the Raiders get one of these backs from Ohio State, they'll be game planning for Chip Kelly and those guys. Chip Kelly did a lot with them. Rhett. Yeah, Rhett was good. I'm happy people are connected on this bricklayer site, man. I'm happy you're all getting along. Nothing's all perfect, but nice. All right, let me engage the chat. Let's do some speed brick here. Anybody got any questions? Anything they want to ask? Anything they want to talk about? Do it now. We got some time. Yeah, we got to get to 10K. I think once we get to 10K, we're going to be in a nice spot. Hard to move the needle, man. I did that 30th anniversary show. That's picking up steam. We need to get some subscribers off that. How many quarterbacks go in the top 10 this year? Cam Ward and Shador. Those are the only two I think go in the top 10. 125,000 2 days at WrestleMania. WrestleMania did real well in this town. And I don't do wrestling, but I will say this. Was it complete bullshit that Travis Scott was the last star of that final match? I mean, you can't do better than Travis Scott. Do the wrestling fans that anchor that sport want to see Travis Scott play the role of villain or hero or whatever the hell he is? I don't get that. Anybody got a reason why The Rock wasn't involved in any of this? I don't know the answer. I'm asking. Luke Easterly will join us.
Hey Vegas, at For the Truck, we always offer our first responders and military a 10% discount. Are you ready to take your truck to the next level? For the Truck is giving everyone 10% off all Linex frame bed liners. Remember, gift cards are available.
All right, we good, Bobby? Hour 2?
Yeah. Moving Stilling, Mark Hansen.
Today, I'm going to try to figure out maybe Vic Tafer or Paul Gutierrez. Paul's at Raiders.com now, back up. So we're going to try to get a couple of more people just on the record giving their opinion on Ashton Jeanty and whoever it's going to be. The NBA playoffs are underway. No big surprises. I'm a Knicks fan. They won, which I'm excited about. Really excited that they won. The Lakers lost. The Warriors beat Houston. Did you see that Ja Morant game in Memphis getting slaughtered by Oklahoma City? Bobby, your Celtics won. I don't think they have a tough test in the opening round. They'll get by easy. But the Golden Knights, we get the final call of that, which was an unbelievable final call. I was watching the game with my wife, and I said to myself, the total, I don't bet, but the total on a hockey game's usually 5.5. So it's 3-2. It's under the 5.5 goals. If they score, it's going to go over. And the Golden Knights scored with literally no time left. I would say it was 0.00001. It was that close on an open net, but they do it.
7th and 8th playoff goals in playoff game 33. Vegas 4, Minnesota 2. A 1-0 series lead for Vegas in the first round.
That wasn't an easy game, Dan Duver on the call. Not an easy game, but you got to find a way to win, and they were able to do that. You never want to go down 0-1 at home. Never want to go down home 0-1. You're on the road, you lose a game. All right, series doesn't start until you lose a home game. That's why the Lakers are in trouble. And the Lakers had nothing going for him in that game. Luka played well. LeBron wasn't attacking it the way you like to see. So going around, I think the Warriors got the biggest break of any team. They're the 7 seed. They're playing a 2 in Houston. In Houston, they have no experience. None. So they could be a 2 seed all you want. That's not the issue. The Warriors have experience. Draymond Green's got more experience on defense than the entire organization. That's why they're going to win the series, because they got that game. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston won a game in San Francisco, and maybe it goes 7 games, but that's a great win for Steph Curry. Steph Curry continues to do everything at the highest level, man. He's just special to watch. He's not hitting a wall. He did not hit a wall at any level. He's playing at a great level, and he finishes games. The only player I've seen finish games better than him was Kobe Bryant. That's how good Steph Curry is. Thrilled to talk to Luke Easterling, who joins us from Athlon Sports. He's an NFL insider, very busy this time of year. Luke, great to talk to you. I wanted to jump in and start off with your quarterback board with Jackson Dart, Shedeur. I'm assuming you got Cam going 1. Where do you stand with the quarterbacks coming into Thursday night?
Yeah, well, I mean, we expect Cam Ward to be the number 1 overall pick to the Titans. He is the number 1 quarterback overall on my board. The rest of the board for me, Shedeur Sanders is still 2. There's a little bit of a gap between him and Cam Ward, but it's not huge. They're the 2 first-round grades that I have at quarterback this year. And then the other 2 are also close together in terms of one another, but there's a decent gap between the top 2. And then Jalen Milroe is my 3rd quarterback in this draft. I think he has the most potential of any quarterback in this draft. I know he's going to be a little bit of a boom or bust guy because he still has to do some developing as a passer. But, you know, I mean, the arm strength is there. He's definitely got a cannon for an arm. He just needs to hone it in and learn how to use it a little bit more and improve the decision-making. But his running ability, it's already on Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels level in terms of his ability to make plays as a runner. So I think some team is going to take a chance on that potential. Jackson Dart is the 4th quarterback to me. Again, those 2 guys are closely ranked together in that 2nd tier, and then there's a pretty decent drop-off between those 2, you know, the top 2, the next 2, and then there's a big, big gap between them and the rest of the class.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned Milroe. You just can't teach speed and that type of ability. It's insane. He's made every throw that you have to make. Every single throw that you have to make, he's made. And it comes down to consistency. And I've always said this, Luke, I don't know if you agree. You know, college quarterbacks are supposed to be inconsistent. They're in college. And then they go to the pros and they get a quarterback coach and they get an offensive coordinator and maybe a head coach with offensive ability. And they try to limit the mistakes they make and teach them up a little bit. That's why I think Milroe's unbelievable. And again, the Lamar Jackson comparison makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, I think the league is finally figuring out that if you want the greatness that comes with the truly special players, you're going to have to take some risk in terms of the patience and development it takes. Because look at four of the most explosive, you know, superstar quarterbacks in the league right now, and go back to what was being said about those guys going into their respective drafts. And I would say that group is Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. And see where all 4 of those quarterbacks are now, the production they've had, the winning that they've you know they've helped make happen for those teams. And go back and read the scouting reports on all 4 of those guys. You'll see a ton of the same words, the same pros and cons that we're using to talk about Jalen Milroe here right now. So I think the more of those guys get a chance to succeed, the more teams are willing to build around their skill sets and give them patience and let them develop, the more it's going to encourage the next team to take a chance on the next guy like Jalen Milroe. And I think that's what we'll see. I think he could go late in the first round on Thursday night because of that.
Anything change with you on Shedeur with the Giants going out there multiple times and the Saints at 9 with the Derek Carr situation? I think he's perfect in New Orleans. And if Carr stays or not, whatever happens, you groom him or you let him play by week 5 or 6. And that's a passionate fan base. They sell out the dome, and I think they have a quarterback. What do you think is going to happen to him?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed for me on Shedeur Sanders, the player. I think he's a very high floor quarterback. Maybe doesn't have the elite, you know, arm talent or athleticism as, again, guys like Cam Ward with his arm strength or Milroe with his running ability. But he's a really accurate, really smart quarterback who makes good decisions with the football. We've seen that he can be productive even with a bad offensive line, which he struggled with at Colorado. There's a lot to like about the kid. And also the mental toughness. I mean, the kid is Deion's son. He's had a target on his back his whole career. He's had to prove the doubters wrong at every step. And so I think a team will really like having a quarterback that's not going to be shaken by the New York media or a big market or the pressure of being the quarterback of the, a storied franchise. Like you said, even somebody like Pittsburgh, that's not going to shake that kid. And so for me, he should be in the conversation for the Browns and the Giants at 2 and 3. Like he absolutely should. And because I think that position makes such a difference, go back. If anybody knows this, the Browns do. They had Joe Thomas for over a decade, Hall of Fame left tackle, premium position, didn't mean a damn thing. They didn't win anything. They've had Myles Garrett for a decade at a premium position. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. It hasn't meant anything to that franchise because they don't have a quarterback. So until you figure that position out, you can literally draft Hall of Famers at every other position, and it will not matter until you figure that position out. That's why if I were the Browns and the Giants, I would have to strongly consider taking him.
Luke Easterling joins us, Athlon Sports. You think a lot changed with Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs last year that will be beneficial to taking Ashton Jeanty early? A lot of people have him mocked at 6 to the Raiders, but I think Jacksonville's a trade partner. There are other teams that might let another team come in. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it contributes. And I think, honestly, it's been a pattern that's really been over the last couple of years. Because if you go back and look 2 years ago, Bijan Robinson was a top 10 pick. Jahmyr Gibbs was a top 12 pick, and teams were like, oh, this is weird. Is the running back coming back? Well, both of those guys have been as advertised, and Gibbs in particular was a huge reason for their offensive success and the fact that they turned things around there in Detroit with that offense. So I think teams are starting to understand the pendulum always swings way to one side, and then it comes way back to the other side. But I think somewhere in the middle, teams are going to have to realize, can you get a productive running back in the middle rounds? Absolutely you can. There's a million examples of it. If you want a special one, you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to go get him early. That's how that works. That's why Barkley went number 2 overall. That's why the 2 guys I just mentioned went in the top 12. It's why Ashton Jeanty is going to go in the top 10, maybe the top 5, like you said. The Jags could trade out of that pick, but they could take Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I think with a new coaching staff coming in, he immediately becomes the best back in that room. And so if you're looking to help Trevor Lawrence, he balances things out in that offense. So I think it has been a slow, again, the pendulum swinging back the other way where people are realizing, like, sure, we can get a serviceable running back in the middle rounds. But if I want a superstar who can really change the game like Barkley did and like Gibbs did and those other guys, that guy is worthy of a top 10 pick. And that's why Jeanty will be that guy.
Other than Abdul Carter, do you have a defensive edge rusher or a linebacker off the edge that you have graded real high and everybody should know about?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Walker out of Georgia is the interesting guy to me because I think for some people he'll be an off-ball linebacker, inside linebacker type. I think most teams in the NFL really want him to be an edge guy because I think that's where you make more of a difference.
Sure.
And I know he's not the prototypical edge, body type. He's a little bit shorter and wider than you normally see at that position, but he's so explosive off the ball, and he's so great in terms of beating contact, that, playing through the offensive lineman and getting to the quarterback. And no matter where he lines up, he just makes big plays when the ball comes near him. And so I think guys that are able to make those splash plays, take the ball away, pick it off, strip it, do whatever it takes to get it on the ground and turn it over, I think that's what's going to make Jalen Walker a top 10 pick. The guy that I think everybody's sleeping on is Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. He's a guy that was highly productive at Boston College, was second in the FBS in sacks last year. Very polished guy. He's not one of these, athletic traits guys who has no clue how to rush the passer with his technique. He is ready-made to make an impact in the pro level. And then he went to the combine and performed extremely well. So he's got great athleticism, highly productive, very well-rounded guy who knows how to rush the passer. He's got a detailed plan in terms of how to use his technique. And you see a lot of these other guys, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M and James Pierce from Tennessee, Mike Green from Marshall. There's a lot of edge rushers you see in the top 15 of all these mock drafts. Ezeraku is the guy that I think when all is said and done and he makes a big impact right away, teams are going to be like, why did we have this guy higher?
Finally, I want to go to tight ends. We're talking to Luke Easterling. He's got great work up at Athlon Sports. I thought the Jets blew it last year by not taking Brock Bowers, and we know what Bowers did in Las Vegas. I mean, the numbers were insane. What's the comp look like with Tyler Warren? Because, man, when I watched Penn State and him play and what he was doing behind the line of scrimmage, in the red zone, special player here, but I just don't know who needs a tight end more than another team.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Warren, I just released my big board at athlonsports.com this morning. So it's the top 300 players that I have ranked in this draft. Tyler Warren is number 5 on my board. And I think when I watch him play, he's basically built like Rob Gronkowski. And I won't compare rookies to Hall of Famers because I think that's unfair. But the player that jumped out to me when I first turned on his tape in a detailed way was George Kittle. And I think if you put George Kittle in Gronk's body, I think that's a pretty damn good football player. And so when you look at the way he plays a little differently from Colston Loveland, who I also love out of Michigan, very different style of player. He's the, taller, leaner, kind of, pass catching specialist. Warren is a more well-rounded player in that you can line him up anywhere in any formation. He can still play the traditional tight end role because he's big and physical and he can block. But man, downfield, he's just, if you're a DB or a linebacker, how are you supposed to get around that guy? He's so huge, you can't get to the ball without going through him and drawing a penalty. And his catch radius is huge. He's able to pluck the ball away from his body. And again, so versatile. He can line up anywhere on offense. They lined him up at quarterback, for God's sakes, and gave him the ball in short yardage. I mean, there's nothing that guy can't do. And again, that's why he's a top 5 player in this draft. In terms of the teams that could use him, I think that conversation starts at 5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think could use him after releasing Evan Ingram. I think the New York Jets, again, like you said, missed out on Bowers last year because they took the left tackle in Fashanu. But I think if they could do that over again, they might have a chance to do that and take Tyler Warren at 7. If he's on the board there, the Bears at 10 makes sense. Maybe even the Saints at 9 if they don't go quarterback. Both of those tight ends, though, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, I expect to be off the board by 14 where the Colts are.
Wow, Loveland that high up too. Wow. Good to know that. Athlon Sports has been around since 1967. Luke Easterling is one of their great contributors on a bunch of different levels. Luke, I'm happy you were able to make time for me. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate you.
Hey, it's my pleasure, JT. Take care.
All right, Luke Easterling. I hope you enjoyed that. Good guys today. We haven't even got to Mark Anderson, who covers the Raiders exclusively here. So I like him and like what he has to say. Interesting. He had 2 tight ends gone by 14. Okay, because one's going to go for sure. Tyler Warren, but wow, he's got another one right behind that. So we'll see. I just don't want to see Ashton Genty end up with the Broncos. That's like a big deal for me. I don't want the Broncos getting any better. And I don't want the Chargers getting any better. The Chargers are never great. All the Chargers get guys in LA, national guys every year. The Chargers are no, they're not. The Chargers are going to Charger.
Yeah.
Raiders are fine with the Chargers. They got Justin Herbert, who's elite. I think the world of Justin Herbert.
Right.
I think he's super elite. He's 0-2 lifetime in the playoffs. 0-2. Doesn't play great in the playoffs. A lot of young guys at that age didn't play great in the playoffs, and then they went on to have Hall of Fame careers. I don't want to see the Chargers or Denver get better, and I've said it on this broadcast. Kansas City's window, in my opinion, is closed. Not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're sustainable enough with their roster to go back to the Super Bowl and automatically check the box. That doesn't mean the Raiders are going to split with them, but it'd be nice. The Raiders seem to be the team that plays them harder than anybody. They seem to be the team. Mark Anderson from the AP next. And then we'll get into the draft again. This is all I'm doing. Completely focused on the draft. Thanks to the bricklayers who join me every day on YouTube. Got some good things coming up for you. The initial people that sign up for our YouTube channel and subscribe, I owe you a lot. I appreciate it, and you're there for me. Thanks so much for doing it. Thank you, everybody. Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight. That will be 7 to 10 Pacific. I think we're going to live stream it tonight, the first monologue. Thank you, everybody.